after reviewing the tape, really disappointed in the self-inflicted penalties. Looking back at it, that was the telltale sign, especially on offense. Just too many self-inflicted penalties, injuries. We got Sean Rawlings has a very, very bad ankle sprain. He's having surgery today on it to hopefully try to get him back a little bit quicker. A.J. Brown has a strained MCL, probably 1 to 2 weeks. Markel Pack, probably a week. Dawson Knox came out okay. Jordan Sims came out okay. On defense, Victor Evans is probably the only one significant injury. He sprained his MCL, so he's probably a week and a half to 2 weeks, but we'll let him rest in this open date. I do think the open date's coming at a good time. We got to get some guys back healthy, and we got to fix the issues that we have with the penalties. I felt a lot of it was self-inflicted, and we can get those things corrected. And that's up to me and the coaching staff to get that better, because I think you take away the turnovers and the penalties, I really think you put yourself in a position to win that football game. So the good news is the mistakes are correctable, and we're going to use that open date to get healthy and to get ourselves fixed. We got some really, really talented and good players that will have a chance to compete with anybody in the country, and I'm looking forward to the challenge moving forward.
All right, raise your hand if you have a question. We'll bring the microphone to you.
Matt, from a layman's standpoint, it looked like once Sean went out, and no disrespect to the job Javon did, but it just looked like the offensive line was just discombobulated. Is that how you?
Yeah, I think bigger than again. All you can do is go back and watch the tape. But after watching the tape, the biggest thing was the penalties and being behind. It wasn't losing one-on-ones or, things like that. It was more us, the self-inflicted stuff and the turnovers. You only have a certain amount of plays in the game. You can't have wasted plays and penalties and things. The game's hard enough as it is. You have to make sure that you're clean. And I think that was the biggest difference. Now, obviously, Sean has been in there and has some experience, and it's the first road game and all those things. So I'm sure it did play a little bit into it. But after watching the tape, the biggest thing was the penalties.
Coach, with Alabama coming up next, how important is it to find a balance in the offense between throwing it and running the ball?
No, I do. I think that's very, very important. I thought in the second half we were a little bit on our heels, and it's important to me that we're aggressive. I don't think you can play on your heels against Alabama. You really have to focus on being aggressive and trying to dictate the tempo. And I just thought in the second half we got a little bit on our heels, but again. It's kind of go back, the penalties and being behind the chains. I think that caused some of that. So I think, again, just correcting the self-inflicted and removing the turnovers, I think you win the football game minus penalties and turnovers.
How much of the penalties, Matt, were related to communication and Sean not being there?
I think just the first time going to a silent cadence and, with Javon being in there some, I just think that's stuff that we got to get corrected. As far as there shouldn't be any communication with the silent cadence. We got to get it cleaned up moving forward, and we will.
Matt, that was the first, close fourth quarter game you've had as a head coach. Just what was it like going through that experience, for the first time?
You know what? I told the guys this in the staff meeting. Losing never even crossed my mind. That was, I had it, in my mind, everything was going according to script, and we were going to be 3-0, coming back, getting ready to play Alabama. It didn't work out that way. I was disappointed in the fact that a lot of our mistakes were self-inflicted mistakes and things that we got to get corrected. And I own that. The coaching staff owns that. And moving forward, I think that's important that we get it cleaned up in this open date. That's why, again, I think the open date's coming at a good time. You got to look at the first quarter of your season, which is now over. You focus on what we got to get better at. We go get better at them. And, and I think you have an unbelievable challenge going to play the best team in the country coming off the open date. And we're excited and looking forward to that challenge.
Seemed like in the second half against Cal, they were able to consistently get pressure on Shea. Was there something different that they were doing from a scheme standpoint?
No,
or-
it was the same stuff. You know, I think just a little bit more us playing on our heels and them being to pin their ears back and come after us. I think that was the biggest thing, and us getting behind the chains. You know, I just think you got to get yourself in manageable down and distances, and you know, take advantage of the opportunities when they come. And you know, we didn't do that.
Matt, Coach Longo keeps saying that the offense will get faster and faster and faster and faster, but is this a tempo you're happy with right now? I mean, it seems a little slower than what you're used to.
Right. No, I think we want to go faster, and I just think we got to get to where, again, penalties slow you down. Our rhythm, and I think that's what everybody felt, is the rhythm wasn't there. You know, to be in tempo, you got to win first downs. And, you know, you can't get into tempo if you're first and 15 and second and 12. You can't do it. So your rhythm has to be there. First and 10 is unbelievably important for a tempo team, always has been. And so I think you have to win first downs. You have to be clean. But the theme of it is going back is self-inflicted penalties. You have to get those out of the game if you want to have a chance to win football games, especially going on the road in the SEC or in the Pac-12 or wherever you're playing. You know, you got to make sure you eliminate those things.
You mentioned Sean having surgery. How long do you expect to not have him? And then is there any update on Gary's status?
Yeah, and again, Gary, I think will be fine. He just had a little bit of a tight hamstring. It was really bothering him while he was kicking, so I think a week off. I think he should be fine. Sean, I don't know. He'll have the surgery, and he'll probably start the running progression maybe at the end of this week. They got to let the wound heal. But you know, I don't. He's probably 50-50 for Alabama if I had to give you my best guess, but I'm not sure about that right now.
Do you expect AJ to play against Alabama? I know you said 1 to 2 weeks, but
Yeah, I don't know that for sure. I think we'll probably give him the open date to see how much he heals, and I'll probably be able next Tuesday to have a better judge on that. I'm hopeful. I would say that he's probable, but we'll have to see that next Tuesday.
It appeared the defense played better. Is that how you evaluated it as well?
No, yeah, I did. I like that they kept fighting. You know, the turnovers put them in a tough spot early, and I think they got the red zone in the first drive of the second half. But they bowed their neck. They got some turnovers. They were battling and competing all the way to the end of the game. So I really like to see that, and I think it's definitely something to build off of. So I was pleased with their effort. They were flying around. They were giving great effort. I thought we tackled better. So there's a lot of good things to build off of. There's a couple things with our alignment and a couple not getting lined up a couple times that we could be better. But I think it's definitely something to build off of. So I think it was obvious to see that, and I think it's something to build off of moving forward.
What did you see, speaking of the defense, third down, they were doing a lot of those little out passes on 3rd and 6. Was that scheme fitting? What was the reason we couldn't adjust to that?
Yeah, you know, that was one of the things we wanted to, just being aware of the chains in our alignment to take certain things away. A couple times we were bringing pressure with it. We knew the ball was going to have to come out quick, and we didn't. You know, we were maybe a little bit too far off. Just having a little bit of down and distance awareness, and knowing when you're pressuring that the ball's got to come out faster, and just being on the same page a little bit there. But I thought, and it wasn't bad, but just with a couple of minor adjustments, I think it could have been a lot better.
You guys are obviously missing 2 centers right now, Matt, but on the line overall, how many of these guys do you trust to play? We've not seen very many, and now some injuries are sitting.
Right. No, I think you can never have enough centers. So, but before practice, we're snapping 4 and 5 every day. You know, Javon was one of those. And now you got Sean and Eli down, but Jordan Sims is also snapped. Jack DeFore is also snapped. Ben Brown is also snapped. Now, because of the experience, you know, you'd lean more on Javon and Jordan just because they've been there and they've done it. So we'll work those 2 guys hard, but we'll have Ben Brown and Jack DeFore also ready, you know, as a 3rd and 4th, because you can't ever have enough because you never know what's going to happen. So, but Jordan and Javon will take most of the reps this week in practice.
One of the question marks prior to the season was, you know, confidence. How would they handle adversity after last year? How were they yesterday after the loss?
You know, I think disappointed. And I think that's the thing they have to understand is that we have the ability to compete with anybody, but you can't play that way and beat anybody. And I think that's what they need to know. The confidence isn't, I don't think it's a talent issue. It's about us fixing the things and controlling the things that we can control. That's what good football teams do, and that's what we have to do moving forward. So now we've in my tenure here, we've had some gut punches and some tough losses, and we've always bounced back. And this group has a lot of pride, and I know that they'll bounce back and they'll be ready to go.